August 1956, San Francisco, California. "Sign here, Miss Rosetta." The attorney slid several typewritten documents across his immense oak desk. In his gnarled, outstretched hand, speckled with brown age spots, was a pointed mother-of-pearl fountain pen. Seated across the desk, Caterina pressed her fingers against her damp collarbone. How can I do this? The writing instrument might as well have been a dagger for her heart. Caterina fanned her face with a cherry blossom paper fan she'd bought in Chinatown. Where is the breeze off the San Francisco Bay? It was an unseasonably humid day in the city, a day so scorching it rendered her mind sluggish. Or was that only an excuse for evading the decision she could not bring herself to make? Fumbling in her purse, she drew out a wrinkled, monogrammed handkerchief embroidered by her own hand. The linen held the milky, sweet scent of her little girl, now a year old. Marissa. She dabbed her neckline and face, stalling the inevitable. She placed the handkerchief and fan in the lap of her light wool skirt and struggled to compose herself. In the outer office, a typewriter's staccato rhythm jangled her nerves, each strike an assault on her sanity. "Miss Rosetta, we've been through this before. My clients are growing impatient." Harold Exeter straightened his crooked frame and stood behind her. "I must have your signature today." Today. This was her last day with her daughter. Tomorrow morning, Caterina would hug Marissa and kiss her goodbye forever. Her throat closed and her breath became shallow. She swallowed the lump in her throat and fought to lift her leaden wrist, but she could not. To her horror, the lawyer clenched her hand, wrapped her trembling fingers around the pen, and positioned it over the contract. He clamped her shoulder with his other hand. All at once, the air in the office grew thick. She gasped for breath. His bony grip on her hand tightened. "You have already agreed to their offer." Indeed, she had. Nevertheless, she instinctively flung her hand from his grip, dropped the pen, and pushed the documents away as if they were contaminated. Dark ink splattered like wine across neat pages that threatened to extinguish the only pure joy she had in her life. "Is it more money you want?" Mr. Exeter's voice had an edge she hadn't heard before. Caterina snatched her purse, dug out the lawyer's crumpled check, and flung it onto the desk. "I don't even want the money you gave me," she snapped. Distraught, she sank her face into her hands, her breath coming in short rasps. "That was for your medical bills and rent." The attorney shifted on his feet and waited for her to regain control. Once she did, he eased himself into a chair next to her. His demeanor softened. "Miss Rosetta, I'm a father and a grandfather. I know how difficult this is for you, but adoption is the best alternative. If you love your child, how can you subject her to a life of shame?" Caterina's eyes glistened, and a moan escaped her lips. There was nothing she wouldn't do for Marissa. Yet the motherly instincts of her heart and the rational judgment of her head warred within her. "Do you want her to suffer the brand of illegitimacy for life?" His voice dropped a notch. "Don't make your child pay for your mistake. She needs a family." She agreed. And she'd tried to do just that, though she had failed. Faith, the kind woman who ran the small maternity home where she'd been living, had warned her. The longer she waited to give up her baby, the more gut-wrenching it would be. But Caterina had to know, beyond any doubt, that this was the best decision for Marissa. She could bear nothing less. Clutching her handkerchief, she intercepted the tears that spilled from her lids. "I must meet them." "I beg your pardon?" "The new couple," she managed to say, instead of parents.